Alright, well, welcome back to another episode of my Trimmy Tube on my YouTube channel. So, tonight we're going to do another installment of my top 10 list. So, tonight's topic is top 10 Sopranos characters. So, I was thinking I was going to do like something to do with TV, like whether shows or, from different decades and stuff like that. And I started thinking about, since like the 2000s, some of the best shows, and honestly, like three of my favorite shows since the 2000s have all been on HBO. And it's Sopranos, Game of Thrones, and The Wire, and they all have great characters and stuff. And I was gonna do a list of top 10 Wire characters, but that is I think I'd have to do a little more in depth for that because there's some really good characters on that show, but. Then I thought with The Sopranos, and instantly I started laughing, and I started thinking of them. That was one of my favorite parts of the show, The Sopranos. The Sopranos are a great show, great premise, great writing, great acting, but the characters, like, these guys are amazing. Like, they're just beautiful. So here's going to be, like I said, another installment of my top 10 list. This is going to be top 10 Sopranos characters. So remember, if you like my content, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and here we go. So like usual, we're going to work down from number 10 to number 1. So at number 10, we have Artie Bucco, played by John Ventimiglia. So Artie Bucco is Tony's like childhood friend who runs the restaurant, and Tony's always basically going there for free and running up huge bills and never paying him back and bringing all his Goombadis there to eat, and just it's called Vesuvio, I think, is the restaurant that Artie owns, but it's like the hot spot when they first start the show, and like Tony's always there with all his wise guys, and he's always kind of taking advantage of Artie. Artie grew up with him, Artie was his friend, but Artie was never that type of guy. He was a cook, and now he's married, but he's always kind of wanted to live on like that side, so that's why he stayed friends with Tony for so long. So he just comes in at number 10. Got some good scenes with him, especially the time when he ends up I think he loans money. He gets money loaned, or no, he loans out money. That's what he got, money from Tony, and he loaned it out to like this French girl that he was hooking up with, her brother, and he got scammed. And then like Tony was just like, "Dude, this is not for you. You can't be doing this anymore." And I don't know. It was just kind of sad, but kind of funny at the same time. All right, so then at number 9 we have Syl. So Syl is actually Steven Van Zandt from the E Street Band, Bruce Springsteen's band. So they really try to keep it with this like real Jersey flavor, and that's why it became such a huge hit in the state of New Jersey and beyond, obviously. But they try to stay true to the Jersey roots. So like Steven Van Zandt is not Italian, and he's not a wise guy or anything like that, but plays the character good. It's like so over the top, and his hair, and so basically he's like, he runs the Bing, the strip joint that they all hang out with, and his wife in the TV show is actually his real life wife, so that's kind of cool, and that's a little fact that if you do a little research you'll find that out. So he's got a lot of funny lines. His dynamic with Tony is really funny. He does a lot of really good physical humor, like the faces and the expressions and just body language, and he doesn't have to say a lot to be funny, and I appreciate that. So then number 8 we have Dr. Melfi, who's played by Lorraine Bracco. Now this is Tony's therapist. This is like the whole premise of the show is like Tony seeks therapy, and that's crazy for a guy who's like in the mob, especially an up-and-coming mob boss, to be going to a therapist and telling them like what's going on. Like that was the whole premise of the show, because that was like so crazy to think that somebody would be doing that. But we're getting into new times and new ages, and hey man, mob bosses have anxiety and like depression and other mental health issues that they need to talk to somebody about. I guess like really, I mean, there's all types of other stuff that went on the show, but that was like the basic premise of the show, is him seeking her to get help with his mental health. So Mark DeMelfi is played by Lorraine Bracco, who's still well into her 40s or 50s, or however old she's in the show. It's still a smoke show. She's an incredibly beautiful woman. I don't know if you guys remember her. She was Henry Hill's husband, Ray Liotta's co-star in Goodfellas, and she was awesome in that movie. She was the Jewish girl that met Henry Hill and fell in love with him and ended up following him down a life of crime and everything that went with it. And she's awesome in that movie. But this show, totally different character. She's a very straight-laced therapist, but she's a human being too, and the more you get to know her, you see a little more of her psyche and stuff, and you can see like that she's not perfect, and that maybe there is like kind of a mutual attraction between her and Tony, but she would never act on it because she knows what's right and wrong, and Tony, he you don't really know if he knows what's right from wrong, but he certainly don't give a shit about what's right or wrong. He goes for what he wants. So it's a really interesting dynamic between them. Just the whole idea of the mob boss going to see a therapist to get help for his mental health, and like how foreign and crazy an idea it is, but it's probably like not that unrealistic. I'm sure there's people who are involved in that kind of life, and they're like, man, I wish I could have somebody to talk to about this. I'm so overwhelmed, And so anyways, but what a great dynamic the two of them had, like going back and forth, like loving each other. Tony putting her up on a pedestal and then being all disappointed and upset when his expectations started to come true, and then her, trying to keep it professional but crossing those lines, and then kind of wanting him to be like a protector of her, and she had sexual fantasies about him and stuff. It was just really well written stuff, and some of it was funny, some of it was serious. Just that's what I really love about this show. It's technically a drama, but there's tons of comedy in it. It's just got a little bit of everything. Alright, so number 7, we have Johnny Sack, played by Vincent Curatola. So Johnny Sack, apparently he is a writer and a producer and a songwriter too, and he's performed with the band Chicago. But as his character Johnny Sack on The Sopranos, I just like him because he's like basically the competition. He's like he runs New York. Carmine Lupatazzi is the boss in New York. Johnny Sack runs all the rackets, and he's the up and comer. Everybody knows he's taking over next. And him and Tony have a good dynamic to each other. They're always trying to like work with each other and kind of like make sure that the two of them are always on top and stay on top. But they also kind of like watch out for each other too, because they know that both of them are like the two strongest guys, I guess, like the two most powerful, and they gotta watch out for the other one, make sure the other one doesn't get too powerful, because New York's always trying to encroach on New Jersey and vice versa, but mostly New York's trying to steal stuff from New Jersey because they think that they're bigger and they can get away with more. But Johnny Sack, he's a good character, good actor, always smoking cigarettes, another guy who has great facial mannerisms, doesn't have to say a lot. I like how he plays it when he's when they break him, basically, when he's in prison and he's older and he wants to go to his daughter's wedding, and then they make him leave early and he starts crying and all of those guys are embarrassed by him and stuff, and he just realizes, he's like, I've been a mobster my whole life, but I love my family, and my family means more, and he's like, I don't care what these guys think of me, and that's, I don't know, that was like showing like a real person, instead of just this character. So number 6, we got Junior Corrado Soprano. That's played by Dominic Chinis. Great actor. He plays a real like kind of, I don't know. He's like a goots, I guess you'd call it. He's kind of all over the place. Sometimes he's really sharp. He's really with it. Sometimes he can't remember what he's doing. He's a troublemaker. He's always trying to put Tony down. He's always like, "I'm at time in baseball when you drop the ball." He's just always trying to demean Tony because he knows that Tony is like the real deal, and that Tony's the boss, and that nobody would really respect Junior as the boss, and he was just a puppet boss, and Tony was the real boss. So but he'd always try to cut him down in front of other people, and the dynamic that they had about Tony, like wanting him, "You're my uncle, don't you love me?" And it's like, and Corrado can't say nothing but nice about him. So number 5, we have Carmela Soprano, Eddie Falco. Now, she is unbelievable. She is just an unbelievable actress. That show Nurse Jackie, she plays that unbelievable as well. She plays the quintessential, like, Italian, like, mom, like, who is, like, all over their kids' lives, all up in everybody's shit. You can't, like, if you drop one crumb in her house, she's picking it up, like, believe me, like, Gloucester is a very big Italian town, especially when I was growing up there. I've been to plenty of people's houses where there's the Carmela Sopranos and their moms. Like, literally, it could be Carmela Soprano. Like, you could just look at her, just even with the short, like, cropped, like, yellow hair and the jewelry. Like, Eddie Falco is an awesome actress. Like, she is great, and she plays this role. When her and Tony break up and they have the big fights and stuff, it's like hard to watch. It's so realistic, and it's like these two people that you become invested in, and it's like it's almost tough to watch. It's like, oh man, you're feeling for him, but it's only acting. That's how incredible these guys are. Number 4 right now, Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini, rest in peace. What an actor this guy! He could play any kind of character. Like, he plays Tony Soprano, like, and he is Tony Soprano. Like, if you could separate the two, it'd be like, it's, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, he plays the part so well. Like, he is Tony Soprano, but he's played so many other parts and done well, and just like, he's such range for an actor. Like, it's kind of like, it would suck to just pigeonhole him as such a great actor as in the role of Tony Soprano, because he's just such a great actor in general. But wow, man, like, he is Tony Soprano. Like, nobody else could ever play that role. Nobody else could ever be Tony Soprano. James Gandolfini, like, unbelievable. Like, the range, the depth, like, the emotional, like, how you never really knew how you felt about him. Like, some days you find him endearing, some days you find him disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, bravo. Like, he just, what an actor. So, number 4. Number 3, Paulie Walnuts, Tony Sirico. So this was more of a lot of, like, comic relief. Like, he was not as good as an actor as James Gandolfini or Eddie Falco, but he was just a character, you know. And he was really like an old time, like, gangster. You could tell he was a tough guy, and just like the fact that he was willing to fight 20 guys, but that he would be scared of, like, a little, like, mole on his arm, or like to touch something that had germs on it or something like that. Like, the idiosyncrasies in his head, like, just, oh man, the hypochondria, and just like the dialogue between them guys, like, oh my god, like, Paulie Walnuts is hilarious. So we have number 2, we have Christopher Moltisanti, played by Michael Imperoli. So I picked him because, A, he's just an excellent actor, and he played that role so well. Like, the same thing as Tony Soprano. Like, he is Michael Imperoli is Christopher Moltisanti. Like, you could not have another Christopher. Like, I don't know if the kid ever actually has done drugs, gotten high, but when he plays Chris, like, when he's strung out on heroin, it's, like, so realistic. It's like, I have a hard time believing that kid wasn't high at that time, or didn't go through that at some point in his life, because it is hard to watch sometimes how realistic it is. But he's just a great actor, and he plays, like, the stupidity sometimes. Like, he says, oh yeah, you know, it's the SUV, and it's talking about the Special Victims Unit, because of the SUV instead of the SVU, because he's trying to get the guy to write, so he can become a famous movie star. He's trying to get him to write the horror script. He, like, blackmailed this guy, extorted him, because the guy owes a bunch of money from gambling, and he's getting him to write a script for him to, like, pay back the money. But anyways, Michael Imperoli, great actor. Love that. I can relate to that, a character, Chris Moltisanti. So people might think I'm crazy for this, and that's what I like. I want people to comment. I want people to tell me what I'm wrong, where I'm right. Tell me what you think, because my number 1 Sopranos character is Phil Leotardo, played by Frank Vincent. So he's not really in the whole show the whole time. He's more towards the end of the show, and he's not even one of the crew of the Sopranos. He's not even a Jersey guy. He's a New York guy. He's from Brooklyn. He's Johnny Sack's, like, right hand. He gets out of jail after being in jail for 20 years, and I just love Frank Vincent in general. Like, there's a book out there. It's like Frank Vincent, How to Be a Man's Man book. Like, and it's just ridiculous. He's just a ridiculous person. You just look at the guy. I don't think I could be in a room with him and not stop laughing. Just, you wouldn't even have to say anything. He is just unbelievable. And everything I've ever seen him in is he's always the same. He's just like this, like, over the top, like, larger than life guy. And I don't know. I love him. And, like, he's not the best actor on the show, but, like, when he used to come on, I was always, like, so keyed in, and he was just my favorite. So he's number 1 on my list. So, I mean, like I said, if you guys don't agree with me, or if you think I got stuff wrong, please let me know. Comment, and, of course, like and subscribe. And, of course, at the bottom, I got to throw a couple little honorable mentions. We have Tony Blundetto, who was played by Steve Buscemi. He was there only for the 5th season, but he played a really good character, and it was a very dramatic ending when Tony had to take him out. Tony Soprano had to take him out. We got Bobby Bacala, who's a stronghold through all the shows. Tony's mother was great, classic, like, negative Italian mother, like, oh, yeah, just, she's brilliant. The lady who plays it is brilliant. Ralph Cifaretto, even though he was very disgusting and very just degenerate, he was a good character. Jan, Tony's sister, Carmine Sr. and Carmine Jr., and of course, Meadow Soprano. She's so beautiful. But again, hope you like this. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night.